Hey there. Today we're going to talk about sand play. No doubt when you were a little kid, you really loved to hang out at the sandbox, and I have spent countless hours watching young children play in sandboxes throughout my early childhood career. But what is it about sand that is so mesmerizing and so interesting for young children? So we're going to take a look at that and kind of determine what is it that makes sand really good for kids and what are some things that they can learn from it. For one thing, almost everything that children do as they play, they learn cause and effect. If I do this, then this happens. And we really see great examples of that when we play with sand. Most sand play is done outdoors. I mean, every now and again, someone will have a sand table inside the house, inside a early childhood classroom with, like a tablecloth or something on the floor underneath to catch the sand. But most of the time we do sand play outside. There's a really great thing that happens when young children play outside. For one thing, outdoor play supports brain development. Researchers have seen that when children play outside a lot, they also have more self-regulation or, kind of self-discipline. It supports impulse control, attention spans. It also supports creative play and just imaginative play because there's not as many toys and things outside as there are inside, like your playroom or just on the floor with the basket of toys. And so it's really good for children's mental health to get outside and play. Going to a place that has a sandbox is a really great thing. Sand is very sensory. I've got some here and I just love putting my hands in it and just letting it sift. It feels good, it feels cool, it feels really neat on my hands. It also supports fine and gross motor development. It supports just kind of an understanding of physics. There's a lot of things about sand that are different from the other things that children play with. It supports imaginative play if a child's old enough to do that. Now, your older babies and young toddlers won't be doing a lot of imaginative play, but once they get to about 3 years old, 4 years old, 5 years old, there's lots of pretending that happens in the sandbox. So here's what you might need if you're going to set up a little sand table or sandbox in your yard or on your back porch or someplace like that. First of all, it needs to have enough space to have plenty of sand. And then inside that sand, you want to just have things to play with. Of course, there's your typical sand toys like shovels and sifters and buckets and those kinds of things. You can also add cookie cutters, stones, molding containers, little pitchers where you can bring some water in because the contrast between wet sand and dry sand is really interesting and you can learn a lot from that. Rakes, dump trucks, trains, any kind of vehicle that digs, like there's really cool ones that you can sit on to really dig big if you've got that kind of thing in your backyard. And so it's a really great place to set up and just let your kids have plenty of time to explore in the sand. So some questions you might have. What if sand gets in your child's eyes? Well, for one thing, the eyes will naturally water and get it out unless it's a whole ton of sand. And so we do need to have rules with the sandbox, and one is that there's no throwing sand. This is a hard one for a toddler to follow because throwing sand is very satisfying. But they can learn not to throw, and if they do get sand in their eyes, you just, we should have an eye wash cup in the house anyways for emergencies, but you want to just really kind of stay close to kids when they're playing in sand and try to prevent that from happening. Sand is very sticky. It can stick to the skin, especially if there's any moisture in the sand or moisture in the air like there is where I live. And so baby powder or any kind of talcum powder, if you just sprinkle that onto their skin, it will make that sand come right off. Another thing that we need to really be aware of is the potential for toxicity in the sand. And so if you are purchasing sand, you want to make sure that the sand is not a ground up quartz. Ground up quartz can have crystalline silica dust in it, which is a known carcinogen. And so if your child breathes this in, then there is the potential for a health risk from that. And so just make sure, and it will be labeled on the bag. It'll be labeled play sand, and it should say it doesn't have this thing in it. A great resource for finding good sand is just at the beach or at a riverbed or some other natural place where you can just kind of collect some and bring it home. Sand play is messy. It might make you cringe. Your kid might eat it, might get in their eyes. So those are the potential risks, but the benefits greatly outweigh the risks. So I would encourage you to sit with your kid in the sand, play yourself, enjoy how they enjoy it, and see what you can learn by watching your child.